Hey, welcome to Rideshare Rhetoric. I'm Clarky,
And I'm Margaret.
and this is a podcast about real stories from real people.
So today's story, what are we talking about? Or who are we talking about
Interesting
today?
one today. Interesting. I picked this little Nepalese girl up, and she was one of these really bubbly, happy people.
Oh, I love them.
Yeah. And so, really confident about herself, stood about 4'8", and quite young. And we're driving along, and I said, "What brings you to Australia?" I thought she might have been on holidays or something. She goes, "No, I work here. I've been working here for 2 years." I said, "In what field?" Because some of the Nepalese people I've spoken to are quite well educated.
Do you get a lot of Nepalese people
I
in your
have.
rideshare?
I have actually. I've had, well, when I say a lot, I may have had 3 or 4, which is quite a lot.
Okay.
And a lot of them are either nurses or engineers or architects, and really they're well educated.
Yeah. Yeah.
But this girl said, "No, I'm working aged care." And we just spoke about that, and I said, "How long have you been doing it?" And she said, "A couple of years." And somehow her husband got mentioned. And I thought, wow, she's pretty young. And I thought, oh yeah, that's cool. What's he do? And he's in aged care as well. And just out of the blue, I thought, it's one of those gut feel questions. I said, "How did you guys meet?"
How did she meet her husband?
Yeah, how'd she meet her husband?
I think that's always a good question. It's always interesting anyway.
Well, it is, but... So she sat there and went, "Let me tell you a story." In this bubbly little voice. And I said, "I'd love to hear how you met." And she goes, "Well, when I was 19, I was living in Nepal, and I was going out with an Indian boy. And Nepal and India are on the same, right next to each other.
Thanks for that.
Just in case you don't know, anybody out there. They were in love. They were 2 young lovebirds at 19. And she was sort of infatuated by him. She decided to introduce him to her parents. Now, her parents are really traditional Nepalese people. So she rocks up with the boyfriend. The mother grabs her, takes her into the bedroom and says, "Are you going to marry this boy?" And she said, "I'm 19, Mum. He's my boyfriend. I thought it'd be nice for you to meet him." She goes, "Are you going to marry this boy?"
Wow. That's intense.
Yeah, and she goes, "Well, probably not." She goes, "Okay, get rid of him now."
Wow.
And she's gone, "Really?" He said, "Yes. Your father, not my father, your father has just met a family who has a son who you're going to marry."
Ooh. The arranged marriage.
The arranged marriage. So she went, "Oh, okay, when am I going to meet this guy?" She said, "This weekend coming, we're going to a restaurant together and we'll introduce you." Which is pretty intense. A 19-year-old girl.
Well, it's intense in our way of the world. It's not intense everywhere. It's pretty common in lots of places.
Well, it is in Nepalese world
their
as well.
culture.
Yeah, in their
Yeah.
culture. So she says to the boyfriend, "Look, this is over the next week, I'm going to go and meet this guy that my parents want me to marry. So I think we should break up." And so she broke up with him.
Wow. Even though she was like
She was in love with him.
in love. Yeah.
Because they respect their parents so much. So the next weekend comes around. They go to the restaurant. She walks up, shakes hands with this guy for the first time, made eyes on him for the first time. I said, "Was there any attraction?" She goes, "No, I just met him."
Yeah, it's funny that, isn't it? Because you can have attraction as soon as you meet someone.
Yeah, like you
Yeah.
walk into a room and you go, "I'm attracted to her or him or whatever."
Dig the hole deeper.
Exactly. Anyway, so she met him, and what they did, they sat at the table and then said to the kids, you go off into another room and get to know each other. So they walk into another room, sit down at another table, and talk for an hour, getting to know their name, who
It's a
they
good
are,
start.
where they grew up, all those just things you take for granted as you meet somebody
Yeah.
and grow with them. So I met them for an hour. A week later, she was engaged,
But not by her choice.
not by her choice.
Yeah.
4 weeks after that, she was married. So 5 weeks after the day she met this guy, she was married.
Wow.
And after the marriage, a baby came pretty quickly. So she was pregnant, and within 12 months,
Must have been some attraction there then.
so within 12 months she had a child.
Okay.
So, and as life evolved, they wanted to make some money. There's not a lot to do in Nepal. They came to Australia. Now, talking about arranged marriages, she said her parents had been through an arranged marriage. Both sets of grandparents have been through an arranged marriage.
Yeah.
Their friends have all been through arranged marriages.
Yeah, so it's a cultural thing.
Yeah. And she was saying that not one of them have separated or one of them divorced, which is interesting.
Again, a cultural thing.
Yeah, maybe it's the pressure of that, or maybe it's the growth that occurs from the time you meet somebody.
Yeah, and
you'd
just the acceptance that this is my path. Not saying I'd want to experience that, but
No,
I
exactly.
understand it from a cultural perspective. I think it's really different to the way that we grow up in Australia.
Well, it is totally different. So,
That said, there's still arranged marriages in Australia. You know.
are there?
Yeah, culturally, absolutely.
What town?
Not yours.
Anyway, so she's in this situation. She's married, has a child, little boy, and after 3 years decides that she wants to, or they as a family, want to come to Australia and make some money, basically. They want an income.
They want a lifestyle.
They want a lifestyle, yeah.
Yeah.
So they move over here, start working in aged care. And I said to her, when did you fall in love with him? Because, like, she's not in love with him when she first meets him.
Yeah,
There must be a point where she falls in love, I would think.
maybe.
Well-
Or maybe falling in love is not even the point of it all.
Yeah. Well, she said, look, I love him, but I've never had the feelings that I have for my little 19-year-old Indian boy. I've never been in love with him as such. And I said, that must be really difficult, especially in a society like Australia where I think most relationships, other than that town that has the arranged marriages, and it might be up the road.
I'm not talking about that.
We fall in love. We actually start to grow a relationship and we get excited about getting engaged and married and so on. I said, how do you find that sort of talking to people in Australia? And this is getting towards the end of the ride. And she said, yeah, it's like people in Australia don't quite understand arranged marriages
Well, we don't experience them for the whole,
other than the town up the road.
other than the town up the road.
Anyway, she was starting to get out of the car and she stepped out and still had the door open and she looked at me and she said, do you know, I might be the first Nepalese girl to get a divorce.
Ooh.
And said it with a sort of happy, like flippant way of doing it. But it's interesting how our culture may have influenced how she perceives relationships.
Oh, yeah, for sure. When you move to a new country, there will be cultural impacts of where you're going. Not that we have a huge amount of culture generally, other than if you look to our Indigenous, but...
Yeah. So the Indigenous, do they have arranged marriages? I don't know. I'm going to look into that.
I think you should cut that bit.
But do they? That's an interesting question. I'm not sure. They have community.
You know, it's interesting though, isn't it? The arranged marriage thing, and I've heard this before that they tend to stick, whereas in our culture where we have, let's say, more choice in the matter, that In fact, I've even heard people going into marriages in Australia saying, well, if it doesn't work out, we'll get a divorce.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
yeah. Like our entry into marriage is a bit more laissez-faire, even though we are deliberate and we mean it. So, well, you've been divorced twice, so...
And you?
Only once.
Once, exactly.
Yeah.
So 3 between us.
But 2 of them are yours. No, not 1.5 each. 2 are yours,
Yeah.
one's mine. I'm not claiming that.
But it's true. And we can get into a whole different world where we grow at different rates and all sorts of things like that, emotionally different rates. But it's interesting, that whole arranged marriage
Yeah.
world. And
And I hope her husband's not listening.
that's true. So until next time, that's been Rideshare Rhetoric, and one of our interesting stories from a real person and a real story. And if you like that, follow, like, subscribe, do all those things. And until next time, we'll see you. Bye.